This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Hey, Carm here, the pioneer of Automotive Aftermarket Podcasts. Hey, thanks for being an active listener and helping advance the aftermarket one step at a time. You know, you help me improve the professionalism of our industry by recommending this podcast to a peer. Hey, get an inside look at Andy Bizub's team culture in his Chicago business, including an emotional story about an accident his top technician suffered and how everyone rallied around him. Andy is passionate about pricing and what it takes to run a successful business and paying his employees accordingly. We also had a refreshing talk about zero gravity. Now, I hope I got your attention. Hey, thanks to our partner Napa for providing this episode. You know, recognize the power of being locally owned, nationally known with Napa Auto Care co-branding. Members who have completed a co-branding project see an average 23% increase in repair orders. Napa Auto Care backs you with 50% co-op on approved projects. Speak to your Napa representative today. Hey, warm welcome to my friend Andy Bizub. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Carm.
We're here at Apex 2021 again, and it's early morning. No one's here, so my audience is going to hear one of the quietest shows with zero background noise of Apex. I should schedule all my interviews
right
real early in the morning.
I know, it's neat walking on a show floor when no one's here.
Yeah, isn't it? And here's what's amazing. You said I'll do 8 o'clock because you picked the time. But if I would offer anyone 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, he says, Carm, it's Vegas. You can't do that to me.
We can sleep when we get back home.
You've always contributed a lot of great stuff. Andy is with Midwest Performance in Chicago, 2 locations.
Thanks. Yep.
Your main location, heavy into Audi, Porsche.
Yeah. We're like 65% Porsche, and then the rest of the German mix.
And the rest of the German mix. And the second store?
Second store is generally newer cars, more... We do everything, but more performance-oriented. So we'll have Corvettes and Vipers and Huracans and Ferraris in for tunes and upgrades and all that stuff. Cool. But we also do oil changes and alignments.
And how long has it been?
The second store opened in April of 2018.
It's under your belt.
Yep.
And going great.
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood, it's really, really doing nice. Yeah.
Andy wanted to bring a great topic, and that is what more can we do for our people in our shops? The top operators, I continue to believe, are doing the things for their people that show them top culture, caring. They're open more than ever. I keep hearing about the vulnerability of a CEO.
Yeah.
Please let people see that you're human, that life continues to be a struggle. And I don't mean in a negative way, but nothing's instant.
Sure.
You don't have instant coffee when you're a leader of a great business. And your peoples should know, I want to do this, we should do this, here's how we can accomplish that. With the creativity that's going on, with keeping people happy, it may not necessarily all be about money. You had an interesting situation that I wanted the audience to hear, and that was you had one of your top technicians had an accident.
Yeah. So in July of this year, real jack of all trades technician, the guy who we throw the really difficult diags and oddball cars. He's also a BMW specialist. He had a motorcycle accident, pretty serious one, and basically destroyed his left elbow. It's ended up that he had to have his left elbow fused at a 90-degree angle. He had some shoulder damage, a brain bleed, which they were able to stabilize, thank God. He was touch and go for about a week. He hasn't come back to work yet. He hasn't been cleared for work. But one thing that's really changed is he's probably not going to turn a wrench again. So that part of his career is probably over. He was also a musician, so he's probably not going to play again. However, this guy has just the most positive outlook. He's insisting he's going to come back and turn wrenches. But whether he can or not, first of all, we want to make sure that he was okay. He survived this. Second of all, I don't want this guy's career to end. He's got a ton of good information locked up in his head, and I'd like to turn him into a foreman / diagnostic tech / mentor to our younger technicians. Well, and also as a result of his hospitalization and multiple surgeries, he's out of pocket, about $10,000, $15,000. So we kept him on the payroll, kind of sabbatical, but we pay him a nominal amount every week, so it keeps his health insurance in force. Right. Yeah. Getting that set aside, I opened up a GoFundMe for him last week.
Super.
Just with, we're looking to raise about $10,000 to cover his out of pocket that he's out, and he's also, he hasn't been working either, and we've already raised like $2,600 in 5 days.
Wow.
And I'm getting donations from friends of mine in my old business that know me through LinkedIn, because I put the post up in LinkedIn, and it just tells a little story about what he's going through and everything. I'll tell you, the generosity of people in and outside of this business, but really particularly in this business, right? Because I'm also have friends that are on Facebook groups, shop owners who are donating. It really blows me away. And I'm just so thankful to be in this industry where people do care for each other like this.
Andy, you're just describing something to me called just ask.
Yeah. Ask and you shall receive. Right?
Just ask.
Yeah.
If anyone wanted to help out, where do they go? What's the GoFundMe page?
So the GoFundMe page is called Help Defray Jimmy's Medical Bills. So if you go to GoFundMe and you just search for Help Defray Jimmy's, you'll see it. It'll pop up.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're at $2,650 of a $9,000 goal. And you know what? Here's the thing. If 1,000 people gave $10, we're past the goal.
Right.
It's not like, I started off with a donation of my own just to get it going.
Yeah.
We don't need like big numbers. We need big numbers of people with real small numbers of pocket change.
Okay, people are listening to this and they say, wow, Andy, this is great. What a great thing that you're doing. But Andy, how do you open up a slot in a business that's making X and rolling along? I mean, where do you open up the overhead?
Sure. So like so many things in this business, I look to other leaders in the industry. Seth Thorson is one of those leaders.
Yeah.
He has a foreman position in every shop. And I spoke to him in depth about this when we were at the Ratchet Wrench Conference last month.
Sure.
And he explained how opening up this foreman position made his people on the floor so much more productive. It well more than paid for itself, right? So putting that kind of a position in place, taking on the overhead. I know my guys at both shops are a little skittish. They want to take on more overhead because they watch the KPIs. They're responsible for margins and profits and everything. But I'm giving them an example of how it can be super additive to create this position and bring that person in.
With your financial background, and just go to the website, type in Andy Bizup and listen to our first episode together. You'll understand that Andy bought himself into this industry and
bought myself a job, right?
A huge success story. And here's my question: have you taken an Excel spreadsheet and put all the numbers down and say, if they're more efficient and we could do this much more work, and then looked at the bottom number that says, yes, we can open the foreman position, or no, we can't? Because I'm not sure it's a gut decision. I'm sure you've got to do some math.
Yeah, so it was a gut decision in the first 2 weeks after his accident.
Right.
I mean, the first thing I was concerned about was that this guy survives. Second thing I was concerned about was, what's his mental state? Is he going to give up, or is he going to, and gosh, I mean, you think about it. He's laying in a hospital bed. He can't play music and he can't turn a wrench anymore. I was really afraid for him that he was going to give up. Thank God he didn't. He's a super positive guy. So then I started doing the numbers. Okay, I want to keep this guy as a part of our family. We have 15 employees at 2 shops, and we're super close-knit. I mean, our culture is number one, and we have a fantastic culture. We hired 3 new technicians over the summer, and these guys are just like blown away by the feel of our shop, and they love coming to work every day.
Let's go back to the math.
Yeah. So then I started putting the numbers down. Look, if we add this much overhead, but he brings this much more productivity, what does it look like? We have an Excel spreadsheet for each shop. The 2 shops have their own spreadsheet. So weekly, my guys are putting in their KPIs. They have all the overheads all calculated in there. So it's very easy to just take a single number, a weekly number, just add that to the overhead, add that to the productivity, and see how it comes out. So it pencils out really nicely.
Have you bumped the sales number up, budgeted sales number? If you add him?
Yeah, because the productivity goes up. We're stuffed. We're running at capacity at both shops. At the suburban shop, we're booked out about a week. At the downtown shop, we're booked out. We've been booked out almost 3 weeks all year. And there's no signs of it letting up. And with what we have going on with supply chain, with parts, we're going to be fixing more cars than putting new parts in because you just can't get the parts.
Did a supply chain podcast here, and I had done one in August, and I really wanted the follow-up. I wanted part 2 of supply chain because, we did it in August, and we knew there was a supply chain issue. And then about 2 weeks later, all you could see on the news was the cargo ships, out in the ocean. And I wanted to know if it was getting any better. How long do you think it's going to last? How much was labor a factor in this? And, the answer is huge, but the costs, chartering planes. I wanted the audience to hear from these suppliers of how hard they're working. Nobody's making this up. I said, what about raising prices? What have you had to do? It was Cloys who said, we just didn't take an arbitrary price increase on across all of our part numbers. We did it by part number. So if a part number had a super stressful sourcing thing, we raised that so that we could try to keep any price increase down to a single digit. So I found that episode fascinating. So,
and I'll add to that, speaking last day and a half being here and at SEMA, talking to suppliers, talking to manufacturers, anybody who tells you they know how 2022 is going they don't know. I mean, there's almost no visibility out there.
It's going to extend into 2022.
Oh yeah.
Think of a domino board. Set them up.
Yeah.
And I don't care what twist or what turn you put in your dominoes. The first domino hit, but the domino chain in this particular case and all the issues in our industry is about 100 miles long. It's 100 miles. Yeah, it's still tumbling.
See, I mean, we spent decades building a just-in-time logistical supply chain for everything. I mean, food, parts, all supplies, staples. When parts of that supply chain break, that just-in-time mechanism, it's very, very difficult to get that synced up and operating again. I mean, even if you get everybody like a Marshall Plan type effort on it, it's very difficult to get it synced back up.
The things that you've seen here at Apex, knowing how much you're booked up, whenever those chips for our vehicles start arriving, add and the X factor for how long it's going to take for new cars. God help the prices of those new cars as they continue to go up.
Sure.
If inflation puts a crunch on interest rates, and it could, I still see a lot of 0% out there for new cars. There's no doubt if they put chips in the millions of cars that are sitting out there, they're going to have to do something to sell them.
Yeah.
Okay. But our sweet spot is rising. COVID, the pandemic has been such an opportunistic, one of your words, opportunity for us. And if you're not staying in touch, you're not running your business from both a P&L and a balance sheet. Maybe you already went out of business last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time of great opportunity, but it's also a time of danger if you're not running your business correctly. If you're not pricing correctly, the guys who refuse to raise prices, I think they're done by the end of 2022 because you're getting squeezed on both ends. You have to pay people to come to work, and we should pay people. We should pay our people so they can have dignified, dependable lives, and they're not worried about that. That's part of their life they don't have to worry about. And then you're getting squeezed on parts too, right? So both of your profit centers are getting squeezed. And then all your regular costs are going up.
Hey, Carm here. Keep listening. Find out why you need to introduce gravity a little at a time to the younger generation. Hey, it's Carm, and I'm back to talk Napa Auto Care and auto tech training. Now, as a repair shop owner, you know technical training is essential in the ever-changing world of automotive technology. Or as one auto care owner put it, train or you'll phase yourself right out of business. Thanks to Napa Auto Tech, technicians can keep their skills sharp and their Napa know-how up to date by attending hands-on classroom-style training for almost every vehicle make and model. You can choose from classes in diagnostics, heating and cooling, electrical, electronics, brake systems, ignition and fuel systems, plus a whole lot more. Napa Auto Tech is the highest quality training the industry has to offer, and it's presented by experienced instructors who are ASE Master Certified technicians. Now, some have owned their own shops, and they all have a detailed automotive background. The trainers consistently receive excellent ratings from the technicians who attend. Even after the class is over, techs can access course information online with ClassPass. So when questions come up later, they can use ClassPass to get the answers 24/7 from any computer with an internet connection. Now, what's more, Napa Autotech has been accredited by ASE's Continuing Automotive Service Education Program, reviewed against industry standards, and approved by peers. Don't just take my word for it. Auto Care Center owners who have taken advantage of Autotech training say that well-trained technicians are helping to increase their shop's repair capability and raise bay productivity. Now, that results in fewer comebacks, more satisfied shop customers, and reduced technician turnover. It's hard to beat that. Your Servicing Napa store can tell you even more about the benefits of Autotech training, plus the many other reasons to become part of the Napa family with over 17,000 Napa Auto Care Centers from coast to coast, making it the largest network of independent automotive repair shops in the country.
So you told me you got to price right. I mean, that's a big statement. It's margins on parts. It's the right labor rate. Have you set your labor rate based on true mathematics or what you think the market will bear and competition?
No, our labor rate's set on what we need to charge to be able to pay our people accordingly. Right? We're not talking about price gouging. We're talking about charging a fair price for a good service for quality people who are going to man your front office and man your shop floor, who are going to care about the work that they're doing, take pride in their work, and be able to, again, to have it work a 40-hour work week. I don't want my people working 60 hours a week. We're closed on Saturdays. We closed a long time ago on Saturdays. I want everybody to be able to go home, enjoy their weekend, be able to take a vacation, be able to buy a house, have their wife and kids, taken care of. And so you have to do the math that lets you pay those people accordingly and make a fair profit for yourself for the risk that you're taking.
You just said a mouthful about the extended family and the mouths that you have to feed and the goals and the dreams of those families. When I started the podcast here, and I've been in the industry my whole life, we weren't talking enough about that. And now we are. And I think the entire industry has really made a huge leap to start realizing the number of mouths that they're feeding and the level of responsibility it puts on the shop owner.
Sure.
You can't have $60 labor.
Yeah.
You can't. Where I live in my town, there's shops with $60 labor rate, and they put ads in their local penny saver.
Right. We had the podcast a couple of weeks ago about hiring dealership technicians.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, now he didn't come from a dealership, he came from a competing shop in Chicago, but we hired him, and that shop is almost $50 under our labor rate. They couldn't give him the raise to what the market pay is for his skill set in the technician field. He came to work for us. He immediately had a $6 an hour raise, and it wasn't because I gave him some great offer. I gave him what the market rate was.
Yeah.
But the shop that's charging so much less, they can't pay their people appropriately. So they lost a really, really good technician to us. And I didn't poach the guy. He came to us.
If there's a top 20 or 25%, and then there's that next, say, 10% below that, if we can get them to rise up, the top goes up.
For sure. You create more rungs on the ladder, and the ladder just goes higher and higher.
We don't compete with each other. Why would we want to promote the hell out of a $60 labor rate on the lowest in the market?
Yeah.
And all you really have to do is do Google Earth and take a look at the place.
Yeah, this was I gave a presentation at the Ratchet Wrench Conference on building your ultimate team, and I pulled the mission and vision statement from a dealer down in Dallas. Really great dealership, Sewell dealership. They have a chain.
Oh, yeah.
People are just absolutely love this dealership.
Yeah.
And I took a look at their mission statement, and one of the bullet points that I don't see in people's mission statements across the board is we're going to price our services so that we can make a profit and our people work at a sustainable business. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. If someone would look at that and say, I'll beat them. And that's the wrong thing.
Right.
It's so wrong. We have proven the essentialness of our industry, the 4 million people that work in it. We aren't each other's competition, especially on the independent side. Maybe the big box stores and the dealerships are our competition. But if you run a great place, Andy, think about who your competition is.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I'm going to beat any competition with my service experience.
The answer is no.
Right.
I have no competition.
Right.
Oh, maybe there's a guy down the road doing the same thing I am.
Yeah.
But I don't have any competition. And here's why. How I pay my people, our culture, the relationships with our customers. If we work on all of that,
Yeah.
and then so many years down the road when you've really got it and you're chugging along, you say to yourself, no, I really don't have any competition.
Right. When I look around Chicago proper, I mean, in the city, there's really there's nowhere you can go to get kind of a service experience that we give people.
Your competition is the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
To constantly want to get better.
Right. Yeah.
So Apex, you walked around. Did you see the future here yet?
So last night we came to a cocktail hour where one of the magazines was doing awards.
Yeah, right.
And my wife has never been to the show before, but this year she came down with me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she was on the shop floor. Vic Tarasik invited us down.
Cool.
And he got her a pass. So we're on the shop floor and we're staying there and watching the people come up and accept their awards. And I turned to my wife and I said, look around yourself. These are the people who make things work in this country. They're very down-to-earth people. They're not flashy. They're the ones who keep things moving. It's so gratifying to be involved in an industry like this. I just can't tell you. I've met more quality people in the last 8 years of being in this industry than in my previous 40-something years.
So you're talking about the future here, but what you just said, which was so critical about networking. You were an outsider. You came in, bought a shop, and obviously needed to learn a lot about this business. Well, I've been a tech my whole life. I'm 25 years. I finally own my business. There's nothing I need to know.
Yeah.
Because I'm from the cloth.
Right.
And that makes me qualified to be a really good business person. And, that's been so many of the themes of my over 1,000 episodes between all the venues that we have.
Sure.
I just so firmly believe that the networking piece, and we talked a lot about it in our live show we did from Apex last night. It was the kind of camaraderie. Don't be afraid to shake a hand. Don't be afraid at a cocktail party. He says, hey, what part of the country are you from? I mean, it's simple to start a dialogue with somebody who happens to be here. And ironically, you all have something in common.
Yeah.
And that is, we work in this industry and earn our living here. If you meet a tech, if you meet a supplier, if you meet a manufacturer, there's a bond.
Yeah. We all have something to give. I don't come from the technician background. I mean, I'm mechanically adept, but I've never been a tech.
Sure.
And I'm never going to be a tech.
Yeah.
But I have a business background. So that's why I do things like this, like appearing on your great shows, right?
Thanks.
I mean, the contribution you've given to this industry is immeasurable. And go to Ratchet and Wrench and speak at conferences.
Yep.
Because if there's a shop owner there who did come from the shop floor and needs a little bit on the business side, I can offer that to him, right? And it's just a way of giving back to an industry that's really treated me really well.
Did you see anything here that you were going to purchase, buy, reformulate a business plan around?
I'm going over to the Hunter display to look at the new alignment equipment, because we're coming up on a time where we could really use that new slick alignment piece.
I saw it. It's right here. We're in what's called repair shop headquarters. Everything for the service professional is, and then there's this section kind of in the middle called Joe's Garage, where there's 8 bays, and I'm looking out at them. And if there's anything that helps you run a business, both from equipment, internet, software, it's here.
Yeah, this is a really cool setup. I love this concept that they did down here with this Joe's Garage.
It's going to only get bigger. Share with us, are you ever going to do ADAS someday? Did you ever think about that?
Personally, I'm waiting to see if we reach a point where the cars can start aligning themselves. I've talked to some people in the industry, and it's not as far-fetched as it sounds.
Right.
To be able to park a car in some kind of a confined space and let it go through its motions, or tell you where to make the adjustments, so you're not lining up with the level and everything. Real estate's tough in Chicago. It's very, very expensive. So having a large enough space to put an ADAS facility in is a challenge.
Joe Register did an episode with me. He is the vice president of emerging technologies for Auto Care. And they have this booth over here, and I'm not sure, but secure vehicle interface. They actually have a BMW there, and they're demonstrating that whole right to repair and the ability to get and have the data and what can we do with it. He is so involved, in all these high-level groups like SAE. I mean, he's working with the people who are creating this stuff.
Sure.
He does believe, without taking the thunder that it's going to happen someday, but he doesn't think it's immediately around the corner.
Yeah. So you did one thing you did ask about new things on the horizon. I am really following Tesla and the Tesla service opportunity closely.
Yeah.
I heard a presentation yesterday from Seth and Donnie Cipher, and I said, when I asked my question to him, I said, I could open a Tesla shop exclusive in Chicago tomorrow, and inside of 2 weeks, I think I'd be booked up solid, because Tesla cannot service all the vehicles they have out there. They don't have the capacity. They need the aftermarket. They're treading very lightly. They don't want to admit it. I understand. But we're going to be end up servicing those vehicles one way or another, and I'm really excited about that.
Every month they sell cars, they need us.
For sure.
Yeah, their holes gets deeper and deeper.
And all those cars are now aging out. I mean, they're now, the Model S is 8-9 years old now.
Yeah.
They're hitting the point where they need actual physical. They need control arms. They need shocks. They need all these parts.
But Seth is working on stuff that's even
really
that.
cool. Yeah.
I mean, tooling and diag stuff. And I've always known about Seth. In fact, I chatted with him a little bit earlier. He's been a visionary as far as technology and training. He runs a great company. I think he's got 4 stores now.
Yeah.
No, 3.
3. Yeah.
3. And
I saw his beautiful new shop up in Minnesota when I was up for Ratchet and Wrench. It was fantastic. Cool. Yeah.
So let me go back to now pricing right. You did talk about labor rates, but what about margin on parts?
You got to set your margin target and you got to hold it, right?
So, if you buy a dealer part, do you walk back on the margin, or do you just say, "Hey, listen, this is what I got to have to run this company"?
I mean, we have a limit to how low. I mean, we definitely don't make the margin that we do on our wholesaler parts.
But why not?
They're more expensive parts. We want our customers to keep returning. We want them to keep their vehicles too, right? We want to make it affordable for them and reasonable for them to keep their vehicles. We don't hold the same margin on dealer sourced parts, but when we have to get a dealer part, we have to get a dealer part, and we do. We have really good relationships with our dealer suppliers too. So,
final thought:
people our age, we came up in an era. I remember when I was a freshman and sophomore in high school, I really wanted a job. But you couldn't get a job because you had to get a work permit. You couldn't get that till you're 16. And then you finally get a work permit, and there were 3 people applying for every job opening there was. I always had a paper route. Then I started working at a banquet hall and working at a Walgreens. I was always looking for jobs, digging for jobs. Fast forward 40 years, it's completely opposite now. Now there's 3 jobs or more for every person looking. So it's a different world. We need to realize it's a different world. There's nothing wrong with it. It just is, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think that the younger people are lazy. I think it's
so what is it?
It's just it's a changed environment. And we need to adjust to that changed environment. And we need to be a compelling place to work for, an enjoyable place to work for, a place where people want to come in on Monday morning.
Yeah.
And then Friday, it's been a great week. We're tired. We want to have a great weekend, and let's celebrate our great week and see you on Monday morning. And I'll be looking forward to coming to work.
So before we leave, as I was just listening to Andy, my mind flipped back to the episode we did on the hiring dealer techs. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you this, I have told the gravity story 20 times since just 2 weeks ago.
Great.
And I think it's worthy of repeating. So Andy's on the show and he says, we got to be careful. These young people have never felt gravity yet. And I stopped and I said, explain that.
So there's a large segment of younger people who were kind of raised in a zero gravity environment. They were always told they were great. Everybody got trophies, everybody got patted on the back, and it was all about building up their self-esteem. So you can't take that person, just like a person coming off of a spaceship. When they come back from a mission in outer space, they don't just jump right on the ground and go to it. They have to ease back into gravity. So you have to introduce gravity to this group little at a time. And it works. It's not their fault. It's their parents' fault. So don't blame them.
That was the exact thing. Oh, my God, they're going to fall. They're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking physically. I'm talking about life's experiences,
right.
Stress, anxiety. Thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to repeat it. I owe you some money.
No. Please. It's the least I can do.
Andy Vizib, Midwest Performance, Chicago. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.